So you see, all these needs, all these infrastructures need to be coordinated. That if we bring somebody from country A, what are the qualifications, what is the education system, how many years did this person study, all this must be looked into, and make that person sit for an exam and see how does this person do. We should go away from this mentality that we owe entire world a living. We don't.
Yes.
Time has come that we don't. Let's take care of Canadians, our elderly population, who now needs help, who have contributed all their lives, and those who have come with the right attitude to help this country, to work for this country, to be loyal to this country. My heart is with the immigrants, but with the right kind of immigrants.
Perhaps we have also reached a point in our immigration policy and the politics of it.
That's right.
That we need to take a very hard look at the wisdom of whether or not to allow skilled immigrants in regulated occupations to even come to Canada without the prior clearance of the governing bodies. Because we're bringing them and we're telling them, okay, this is how you qualify, but you know, then the governing bodies have these very, very complicated and cumbersome procedures that the immigrants cannot meet. So we are not doing them any favor by bringing people who cannot work in their fields. They become very frustrated.
When you think about how the system works, it's very disheartening. As Alexandra said before, political parties need to come together in agreement. But you're not. Do you really believe you're going to get this? No, you're not going to get this.
I couldn't agree more with what was just said. This is absolutely, we must work for the benefit of this country, but also for the benefit of incoming immigrants, that their aspirations are met. And their aspirations are met in such a way that they become beneficial to Canada. You see, this is our home now.
Okay, Alexandra, I'm going to stop you for 1 second, because when a lot of people, mainstream Canadians, when they hear the people that have lived here for decades, that's what I mean by mainstream Canadians. When they hear the word immigrants, they get turned off because they have this picture of people coming to the country, taking it for granted, thinking the arrow goes one way, coming to take what they could get, and even the refugee stream, that's the picture they have. But we need to make a distinction here on the types of immigrants that you're referring to here, Alexandra, because you're not immigrant unfriendly. This is the future of Canada, obviously.
On the contrary,
exactly.
On the contrary. I am saying let's be fair to them. Let's fulfill their dreams. Let's fulfill their aspirations.
But there's accountability.
But oh, absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, that A word is always there. Yes, accountability, sense of responsibility, sense of commitment.
What we need to do is take a very hard look and a step back and understand a couple of things. First of all, an immigrant will be happy if he or she has a job.
Of course.
That's fundamental to the equation, because without a job, there is absolutely nothing we can do. We cannot afford to bring people to be wards of the state in here. That's the first thing we need to decide. Number two, we need to work towards easing people's integration into society. And language, a common language, is a common denominator that will ease their integration into society. When people speak the language, they can function in society, they can find good jobs, they can progress, they don't feel frustrated and alienated. Number three, we need to integrate the business community into the immigration equation much more than we're doing so. That's the biggest failure of Canada. We treat business sometimes as if they were a dirty word. And we cannot afford to do this. Business that are providing jobs to immigrants, and not only providing jobs, but also businesses and businesses that are created by immigrants, are the cardinal point of Canadian future economic development. What we need to do is that we need to give a much higher priority to business immigrants, to active investors, not passive investors, to people who are going to bring to this country the necessary capital. That we need to create a very business-friendly atmosphere, so they will be coming in from all corners of the world, willing to invest. When people invest, they create jobs.
Okay, on that note, I'm going to have to go for a break, but there are many immigrants that are coming here and they feel they're not getting jobs. Many of them say it's a case of racism. So if an immigrant happens to be watching and wondering, well, why can't I get a job? Obviously, there's some barrier in the way, and that's something we need to discuss, and we'll do so in the last segment after the break. Don't go away. Welcome back to our discussion about immigration in Canada, and something I want to get out here before we forget. You were just talking about sponsorship fraud. That's major in the country.
Yes, it's a very serious problem right now, and I'm getting a lot of calls in my office regarding this particular problem. And the typical situation occurs very quickly as follows. Somebody who is a Canadian citizen or a landed immigrant, many times a new Canadian, as we call them, because of his or her ties to their homeland, they go back home to get married, either in an arranged marriage or they meet somebody during a trip after being here for a little while. And of course, because of the cultural affinity, they decide to get married. Little do they know that many times, and I'm not saying this is in every case, but in many cases, they are being used by the prospective immigrant just to come here and to obtain permanent residency in Canada, because we grant permanent residency in Canada to spouses without any conditions. Once they're landed, they're landed. And what's happening is that these poor people are then victimized. The new spouse leaves the household without an explanation, and they even sue them for divorce. Sometimes they have a pre-arranged plan in which they had another boyfriend or girlfriend waiting in the wings in another part of Canada or in another part of the city. And some people are facing financial ruin because of that, because they, in many communities, this is very shameful for them to go through.
Wow.
So it's a very serious problem, and it's not restricted to any particular country, but there were a number of reports, for example, from India, in which there were quote-unquote rent-a-bride schemes,
where
unscrupulous individuals would stage weddings for money, etc. But that's another type of problem. This problem is very real for people who are acting in good faith, for new Canadians, immigrants, or citizens who are acting in good faith, and they're just being duped by somebody pretending that they're in love with them and getting married, and then once they are here in Canada and they get their permanent residency, they just disappear. And it's a very serious problem that is causing not only a tremendous amount of headache and heartache, but it's driving people to financial ruin sometimes.
Now, Alexandra, I know this is a big one with you too. If you happen to be an immigrant in this country and you're looking for a job and you're feeling, maybe I'm being discriminated against because I can't seem to find one, what would you advise such a person? There are many areas they should look first to begin with.
They should know their own qualifications.
Yes.
They should